June 11th, Board of Equalization Review Board. We have been appointed by the county commissioners to hear any and all taxpayers with respect to concerns or complaints regarding the valuation of their property for tax purposes. Property owners appearing before the Board of Equalization Review have the right to a fair and equitable hearing. The Board of Equalization Review has been charged with ensuring that the proper legal principles have been applied in a valuation dispute for tax purposes. The format of the hearing is as follows. The clerk calls the case and locates the property or explains the situation. The appellant presents his or her case. The assessor's office offers their defense. Both parties will be given an opportunity to rebut or conclude their comments. All questions from either party should be directed to the chairman. The board will rule on the case or table it and inform the taxpayer when it will be reopened. The taxpayer will be notified in writing of the board's decision. By statute, the burden of proof is on the taxpayer to demonstrate that the assessment is erroneous. Please silence your cell phones and let's start the proceedings. Ms. Robin?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Our first hearing today is Chick-fil-A Incorporated. The parcel numbers that we'll be looking at, well, the account numbers that we'll be looking at, if this is a personal property appeal, is 408-469, 408-470, 408-471, 408-482.
All right, thank you. Is anybody here from Chick-fil-A?
It does look like they have joined.
Yes, I'm here. This is Matt Judd.
Good afternoon, Matt.
There's also Spencer Collins and Katie Petroff from Chick-fil-A as well.
Matt, is there any way you guys could turn your cameras on?
Yes, sir. One second.
How's the change of pace for you guys switching to the virtual stuff with the pandemic going on?
A little different.
Yeah, a little bit different, huh?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is a first for us as well. So,
All right, Matt, go ahead and if you would state Chick-fil-A's case.
all right. Well, first of all, thank you guys for taking time out of your day to be here and let us come before you. So we were under audit from Union County, and during the course of the audit, the auditor picked up components of electrical, contending that these serve the restaurant equipment, and pick those up as personal property. These components are, even though they do serve the electrical or the restaurant equipment, they are part of the building. They're actually annexed to the building, and are already included on the real estate roll. When the building transacts, all that equipment or all the electrical will stay with the building. It can't be taken out and reused anywhere else. And so we're asking that the electrical be taken off the personal property and be included on real estate. Failure to do so would result in double taxation on us, the taxpayer. You should have gotten a copy of the property record card for one of the three restaurants that is under appeal. So if I bring my copy up. If you look on there, I have two sections highlighted on the second page. Up in the top left-hand corner of page 2, it says Marshall and Swift cost data. And then down in the summary of improvements, there's a code that says Fast FDMS, which is fast food, Marshall and Swift. And if you'll switch to the other page where it says 349 fast food, this is the Marshall and Swift report showing what is included in that and also specifically what is excluded from the Marshall and Swift cost report. There are only a handful of things that are not included by Marshall and Swift, and those are actual equipment and restaurant fixtures, furnitures, and signage, all of which we have on our personal property roll. Spencer, did you want to add anything on the real estate side for that?
Yeah, I'd love to. So, yeah, my name's Spencer Collins. I focus primarily just on the real estate and have been involved throughout this process with, the auditor and the personal property office. And as we've talked with them, they did verbally, communicate through the real estate office that they are using Marshall and Swift. And when I look at that property record card, there's no exclusion made for any type of, electrical, wiring or anything, any system that they say they're trying to pick up on the personal property side. So again, it would create a double taxation. And when I do break down even on the cost side from a brand new standpoint for a Chick-fil-A, it costs us about $185 to about $205 a square foot to build a brand new Chick-fil-A. And they're coming in about $213 a square foot on the depreciated cost on the property record card. So what that tells me is when I compare that to our actual costs, they are including it with the Marshall and Swift cost estimate, as we see that again, as Matt stated. Marshall and Swift is pretty explicit in saying what is excluded, and there's no reference to electrical work. So the question is not, is it taxable? We agree it's taxable, but it's already taxed on the real estate side. So this would just create double taxation until when we haven't seen any proof on the county actually trying to break it down on the real estate side, or rather just trying to add it on the personal property side when it is, again, included on real estate.
All right, thanks, Spencer. And then the only other thing I would like to add is that for electrical components like this, there are only 2 jurisdictions in the entire Chick-fil-A portfolio that are picking up any kind of electrical as part of personal property. One of those is Union County, of course, which is part of the discussion we're here for today, and then Lincoln County, which is also under audit and appeal from the TMA audit. So we would just like to ask that you guys would take off the electrical components from the personal property, since they are already included on the real estate roll.
All right. You have any questions, Ray?
Yes, sir.
Make sure your speaker's on, Ray.
Pardon me?
Make sure your speaker's on. Is it-
Can you hear me?
No, it's got a button down there.
This one here? That better? Can you hear
Yes,
me,
sir.
guys? Taxpayers, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I have a question. You just said that the Marshall and Swift item does not reference any equipment wiring. Is that what you just said a minute ago? I thought I heard you say that. That the
It does
Marshall.
not specifically exclude it from the costs that are included in the report. There's a list of about 4 or 5 items that are excluded from that cost, but electrical is not one of those.
Okay, so that tells me that it's not picked up in the Marshall and Swift methodology that's used for the real estate by the county. Is that true?
It's actually the opposite. It actually is included, since Marshall and Swift does not specifically exclude. So Marshall and Swift encompasses, they take a fast food restaurant and look at everything that's supposed to go into that restaurant, including all electrical, and then they specifically list out just a handful of items that are not excluded. And a lot of those are true specific pieces of equipment and restaurant furniture that really are tangible property. You're talking about potentially cooking equipment and exhaust hoods and stuff like that.
Okay, I have to wait for the other question I had on that Marshall and Swift till we hear from the county, but, so these 4 parcels are leased buildings, correct?
We are under a ground lease, however, the building was built by Chick-fil-A and is owned by Chick-fil-A.
Oh, Chick-fil-A owns a building, okay.
That's correct, yeah, it's just a ground lease that's in place.
Then why are we talking about leasehold improvements if the building isn't leased? You own the buildings, right?
That's correct, we paid for and constructed the building.
Just accounting-wise, why are you classifying it? In other words, on your books and records, your general ledger, what have you, you have these buildings listed as buildings, of course, but you also have, do you have a line item called leasehold improvements?
We do not, we have, our record card breaks it out into the building components that were part of the GC bid since we constructed the building. If we were in an inline space or a mall, we would break out and actually label them some kind of leasehold improvement. The way that leasehold improvements are, my understanding from North Carolina is, if you come into a space that has 4 walls, and you're just looking at a blank structure, then leasehold improvements would apply. And that is not the case here since we actually constructed the building.
You own the building, okay.
Correct.
Absent the electrical that's in question here, I guess it's mainly electrical components, wiring? Is that the issue here? Oh, in other words,
Yes.
what do you?
It's electrical components. It's essentially the 220 voltage that's in question. This is the electrical that's in the back of the house.
Okay. So absent this electrical equipment, or absent this wiring, the 220 or whatever it is, the equipment will not run, right?
That is correct.
Okay. That's all I have for now.
Okay, thank you, Ray. Dutch?
Just to make sure I follow, you're saying it's captured on the real estate piece based on the cost per square foot that Chick-fil-A built it, also coupled with how the county has it valued, correct? Unless I'm missing something, I mean, I don't see any electrical components in the Marshall and Swift calculation on the county record card. Am I following that correctly?
Yeah,
That's
if
correct.
I-
Okay. Go ahead, Spencer.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, if I could speak to that. So with the Marshall and Swift, we use that a lot for, our cost estimates in the real estate appeals. And, in that one Marshall and Swift document that we're looking at, the only thing that it states that it excludes from that estimate, is the canopies, the actual kitchen equipment, the furniture, the fixtures and things along those lines. And again, so in our conversations with the county is they confirm they are using Marshall and Swift, and those cost tables do confirm that the entire electrical system is included in that. And then when we look at also the property record card, if you look at, that cost per square foot, they're calculating that over the entire square footage of the structure. Again, all of that equipment, is already filed on our personal property side. So just the electrical, if we were to try to, it wouldn't be economically feasible, one, to try to take it out if we were to vacate the building. And then yes, when we do look at the price per square foot from the property record card, it is in alignment with what actual cost is for a Chick-fil-A, inclusive of the entire electrical package for the structure.
Right, okay. Thanks for helping clarify that. I don't have any further questions.
Mike, you got any questions? Okay. All right. Anything else from you fine people? If not, we'll hear from the county.
Let me stand here, does it matter where I stand?
Just make sure
You're
you
gonna
talk to the
stand in
mic.
front of the mic.
Okay.
Speak into the microphone.
Thank you.
Is it on?
Yep, I think it's on. Can everybody hear me? And they can't see me, right?
No,
Okay.
they can't.
Okay, well, it doesn't matter. Good afternoon, everybody. How are we all doing? There's a number of things that were brought up during the appeal. The main issue is electrical cost. We see Joe Hunter and I went and did a site visit to Chick-fil-A, and we actually went behind the scenes and saw the electrical panels and items like that that were used to support the equipment. And this is partly what we are picking up under electrical. A couple of things the taxpayer mentioned, and I just kind of wanted to address that if I could. One of the things is that we're not going to pick this up and take it with us when we leave. Well, as we know, the North Carolina General Statutes, according to the Mays case, says that we are to look at the taxpayer as a going concern. So as it's being used as of today in a restaurant today, it should be assessed as a restaurant today, not what we might do sometime down the road when we sell the place. So as a going concern, we're to look at, according to North Carolina statutes, present day value or value in use. So as it's being used, we value it as it's being used. So for us to pick up electrical as it's being used today, we kind of have a right to pick that up according to North Carolina General Statutes. Another item that I want to address, if I could, is uniformity. Before we even started the audit with Chick-fil-A, we had just finished an audit of another taxpayer where they had electrical broke out, like Chick-fil-A had electrical broke out. And Union County included 25% of that electrical. Union County really doesn't care what Mecklenburg County is doing. Union County doesn't care what the rest of the state's doing. Union County is concerned about Union County and their citizens, and that they're treating each taxpayer uniformly, as per statute. And so as per statute, we picked up 25% of the electrical like we have done in the past with other taxpayers. Okay, that's per statute. We gotta treat everyone the same. We can't treat Chick-fil-A differently just because they don't like us picking up 25% of their electrical. So we looked at the information provided, and we saw that a number of the electrical was being used to support the equipment, mainly most of it. We tried to settle, we started off at 50%. Okay, so we tried to settle and say, okay, let's look at 25%. And so we suggested 25% going forward. We looked at the Marshall and Swift information, and I think it was Spence that said that the entire amount of electrical is included in Marshall and Swift. Well, I've got a copy of what he sent, and I don't see that in there. And I think I'm going to let Joe Hunter, who's our real estate expert here, who knows Marshall and Swift very well, explain that portion of it. So, Joe, I'm going to let you have that.
Good afternoon. I'm Joe Hunter. I appraise commercial property for Union County.
Joe, make sure you're speaking to the microphone.
Yeah. Okay, everybody can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Basically, when we did the site visit, you have 4 panel boxes, and one of the boxes looked like it was more geared toward things like drive-throughs, which are considered personal property. Marshall and Swift says that anything outside the boundary of the building is definitely not included. So if you're going to put in a drive-through, would it not be wired? So that's kind of our approach that we're looking at. Not only that, but signs, exterior lighting, signs, some type of signage at the road, and so forth. And also, if the kitchen equipment is considered personal property, would not the wiring that goes along with it be considered? So that's pretty much our standpoint that we looked at. And there is no definitive answer to this. Marshall and Swift is not abundantly clear with it, but we were just kind of using a common sense approach and an equitable approach, since we've used the same standpoint. Because if you have let's say you have a leased grocery store that they come in, they'll come in and upfit and put wiring in. When they leave, they don't take the wiring with them. but we still include a portion of that as business personal property. Same thing with say a manufacturing plant. A great deal of their wiring is geared toward the personal side because it's for different equipment. And so when they leave, they don't rip that wiring out. They vacate the building. So that was one of the arguments that we had, and we couldn't look at that as being part of that scenario. But we felt like 25% was fair because of all of the equipment and lighting and drive-throughs and so forth. We felt like that was a reasonable. We requested to have a breakdown, since they're building new buildings. We requested a breakdown of, okay, well, how much are these items, but we never received that. So, because they didn't like the 25%, and I said, well, we can, if you give me some actual numbers, maybe we could work with that, but their contention is that none of it is, so that was not even part of what we could address.
Any questions?
Mike, any questions? Dutch?
I think I follow.
Yeah, I have a couple. You just mentioned, the county just mentioned that, in their opinion, the Marshall and Swift does not include, or it's fuzzy, I guess, as to whether or not the buildings use the square footage, I guess. That component does not include, or does not include, only, it does include basic wiring for the building, like for the light fixtures and so on and so forth. But beyond that, when you get into equipment, stoves, refrigerator, and Harris Teeter, for example, got a lot of freezers all over the place. Outside canopy lighting, the drive-throughs, all that stuff. In your opinion, is not included in that square footage from Marshall and Swift, correct? So did the taxpayer provide you just said they did not, a breakdown of the electrical components in that building?
No, we did not receive that.
Okay. The other question I have for Mr. Crutchfield is, you're using 25%, right?
I believe we put it in the equipment category, D10. Did we put it in leasehold improvements or a D10 category? I believe it's D10.
I think it was D10. yeah.
Yes, it was a D10. So we didn't use leasehold improvements. They own the building, so we wouldn't use leasehold improvements if they owned the building.
But you're using 25% of the wiring itself.
We're using 25%, and then we're placing that on a D10, which is store equipment trend.
So the 25% would be applied to what figure?
So we're saying that 75% is real property and 25% is personal property of all the electrical cost.
Of the appraisal value of the building, 25% is wiring?
Well, they actually have, no, sir, they actually have a cost just for electrical.
Okay.
And
that's
so we
fine.
took their electrical costs and factored it by 25%, saying 25% is personal property and 75% is real property.
That's pretty,
That's lean, yes, isn't it? That's pretty,
that's, in my opinion, it's pretty lenient.
Yeah, I
but,
think so.
And the other thing is, the state has, take that back, throughout Union County, you're using this 25% uniformly?
that is correct.
Okay, that's all I have.
When electrical is broke out like that, we use the 25%.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Let me ask you a question, all right, and I ain't got my arms around this, but, so this is not you guys' first time in assessing a restaurant in Union County, so there's been McDonald's, Hardee's, way before Chick-fil-A ever got here. I'm a lifelong resident, and so these restaurants had drive-throughs, these restaurants had cookers, warmers, refrigeration. So when you went to the visit to Chick-fil-A, were you surprised to find the electrical that you found that you weren't assessing for?
What we did is we look at a depreciation schedule, and the depreciation schedule is broke out, electrical. And actually, there was a number of costs for a number of locations, not just one cost, but a few. Because some electrical went to signs, some electrical went to the equipment, some electrical went to the drive-through, so they were broke out that way. And so they were able to break out the electrical for these different components, to some degree, not to a really good degree. So what we've done in the past, even before we started this audit, is we've used 25%. Usually the state says, a rule of thumb is if you don't know what the property is in leasehold improvements or something like that, you consider 50% real, 50% personal. So when I first did the audit, I used 50% for the electrical. The county says, Jim, we think that might be a little high. We're going to bring that back down to 25%, which is what we've done in other cases with the county. They let me know that's their rule. That's their uniformity rule. We use 25%. And so I brought it back down to 25%.
Jim?
Yes,
I have
sir.
another question.
Okay.
It seems reasonable to me that if you're running a restaurant or whatever, you take the total cost of the wiring, wouldn't the majority of that, 50% or more, be required for the equipment rather than just the standard lighting in the building?
I'll let someone else answer that.
Well,
Because my opinion really doesn't count.
yeah, well, it could be, but we're trying to be agreeable with it. We're trying to come to a reasonable conclusion. And so that's a negotiated amount.
Right.
So that's where we are with it right now.
Okay, thank you.
How was this not picked up originally? I mean, in other words, when they built the building, turned the lights on, started cooking the first day, you knew what what they were putting in. Why come back later with this?
That's from the personal property side.
Okay.
Okay, so the taxpayer files a rendition, a listing, a tax listing. The county receives the tax listing, and then they process the tax listing. They don't really have all the components at their leisure when it's filed. Usually it's data entry a lot of times, especially with restaurants. It's quick, it's done. They've got to process these returns. And according to the statute, 105-312, they are then subjected to audit. And so when we do an audit, then we go through the nitty-gritty and we grind down to the numbers where they're supposed to be. And this is the end result of that audit, of that process.
Okay.
So the statute provides for this type of
Back and
processing the
forth, yeah.
data and then going to an audit process and making those corrections afterwards.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Jim, one more question.
Yes, sir.
What's the useful life of, if this stuff is classified as, M&E maybe?
Yes, sir.
What would be the useful life on that schedule for M&E?
It's a D10, a 10-year life.
Or in computer?
So it goes to residual value in about 7 or 8 years.
So, maybe I'm mixed up on this, but you can clarify because I know you're smart enough.
Okay?
Would it be beneficial tax-wise for yearly tax bills for a taxpayer to have this stuff on a 10-year life rather than included with the real estate and be taxed forever?
That is correct. Yes, it would be,
They could save some money, right?
easier on the county, and we wouldn't be going through this process.
So after 10 years, it drops off?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Well, it goes to residual.
Residual value, but it would stay in that,
Okay,
it
residual.
would stay in that category.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Chick-fil-A, you have any more comments?
The only thing I would say to Jim's last point of being more beneficial to having personal property, it would be more beneficial having personal property. However, when you look at what the item actually is, it is a real estate component. And placing it into personal property without having a reduction on the real estate side does end up in double taxation by the taxpayer.
Okay.
Yeah, and if I could add too, just, I think it was Joe, he was saying that his opinion and his understanding of Marshall and Swift. I don't know if he provided any actual documentation, but again, bringing our attention back to the Marshall and Swift document. When I look at the actual all-inclusive cost of the Chick-fil-A structure that includes our full real estate package, the county's real estate value it doesn't have the breakdown, it just has that Marshall and Swift cost for the fast food code 349. So when we look at that, again, we believe, 100% that the entire electrical system is included in that. And when we compare that to the actual cost, it's dead on it. I've worked on several real estate appeals this year in North Carolina, and looked at all of our brand new constructions from 2018 and 2019, and all of them, are right there in line with what we're seeing in the county's cost per square foot of a structure. Again, and to Matt's point, yes, it would create double taxation, because as we look back, the property record cards don't show an exemption, or any type of deduction for the electrical equipment that's in question today. Again, we are saying it is taxable, but it's taxable on the real estate side. It has been taxed on the real estate side, and not explicitly noted that it was omitted from our real estate from the get-go and onset, as you guys were asking earlier. Is if we're looking at that, why wasn't it picked up from the get-go? Well, it actually was picked up from the get-go when we looked at our cost per square foot in Marshall and Swift.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir, Van.
can I ask that the board request from Chick-fil-A, because we did not receive the documentation of the cost estimates that Spencer's just talking about that we'd requested, we didn't receive any of that information, that we could review that and compare that to the numbers that we have before the board makes a decision on this?
Did you hear that, Spencer?
I believe Matt, you said it over, correct, documentation?
I don't have a breakdown on the electric components. I'm not aware of any cost studies or whatnot. When we engage a contractor to build our building, we send a bid out and it comes back with the total price of electrical. It doesn't have a breakdown inside of there of what the regular electrical versus equipment electrical versus, any other components that you want to try and break out. And really for us, it hasn't been a concern, because it is all real estate.
Well, and that's what I'm
So that's
asking, that's what I'm asking for, from the standpoint of if you've got the cost of construction numbers from 2018, 2019 that Spencer just referenced, that we can take those and compare those to our evaluation system and see where that falls in line. And that's what we were requesting prior to this. Maybe it could be that we were asking for a little more detail initially, but I think if we can get some of that, we can look at that closer and see how that does compare their contract prices for their construction costs compared to our evaluations.
Okay. Yeah, I think when we talked before, I was under the impression you wanted specific electrical cost.
That would be
And we did not
fantastic.
provide that since we don't have a breakout between the two. Now, if you want to look at a total cost of a building, then that might be a different conversation.
I think it's a start. I think it's a starting point for this.
Yeah, and just for the record too, the real estate's not under appeal right now, so we don't have in those conversations, again, we're looking at the electrical and we believe that is fully included. The board, if you guys are looking at the Marshall Swift document again, if the county is using that for the real estate valuation and it's included, I don't know how it's excluded or broken down at any point, because we never saw how it was backed out of the real estate side either.
But to your point, if we had the full electrical component, we could get close.
Well, if their contention is that the valuation of Marshall and Swift includes that, then if they provide us their cost to construct, then we can tie that back to our real estate valuation and come to a reasonable conclusion that yes or no, this is or is not included.
Right.
And it just gives us more information to base a decision on.
Yeah.
So Matt, can you provide that to us in the near future?
Spencer, you're more familiar with those reports. Can we get something that would, as far as showing the entire construction cost?
Sorry, is the board asking for this or is the county? Sorry, it's a little difficult with the
It's the county.
video. I don't know who I'm talking to.
This is Randy Adcock. This is the county asking you for the electrical cost compared with their evaluation.
Yeah, I could show you a North Carolina, 2019 construction on a brand new structure that we have, that would see that, but again, and that would show you that Marshall and Swift is right in line. Y'all's Marshall and Swift cost estimate is right in line. It's actually a little overstated from our actual cost of the structure.
What about the actual cost of the three buildings in question? Is it three or four?
There's 3 buildings and 1 mall location.
Yeah, I mean, is the specific information available, or are you just gonna give us the general cost of construction in 19?
There might be for I think the 2014 build. The older ones, our systems have changed so much, I doubt we would have an actual GC contract on any of those. So I think that would be challenging, yes, but again, if we're looking at, we have prototypes that we build, every single store is a prototype, one of 4 or 5 different prototypes.
Right,
So,
right.
again, they're all pretty much cookie cutter buildings.
Okay. Any questions for the county? All right, thank you. Robin, you want to go over the staff recommendations?
Sure. We're all done with,
Yeah,
I think we are.
yeah, Matt, I think they're done from Chick-fil-A standpoint. Once you provide, are you taking action to table this?
Yeah, I would, well, I'm going to give them a chance to provide the information.
Right, but they've got, it's gonna take some time.
So I could make a motion to table it until we
Until they
receive it.
provide the
Yeah,
information.
I make a motion that we table this until we receive the information from Chick-fil-A.
Okay.
I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
can we put a deadline on that, please?
Matt, Spencer, what's reasonable to provide that information?
Let me take a look at my calendar. Honestly, things are a little bit haywire with real estate appeals right now, and let me look.
I mean, is
Our next
July 31, is that too far out?
July 31st. We don't have another board meeting after June until October. So we can get it, if it's possible, we've got this Tuesday and then we've got one the following Thursday, I
Thursday.
believe.
Yeah,
So, which I believe is the 25th.
yeah, that sounds about right.
I'd like to be able to resolve it by then if they can get us the information before then.
2 weeks.
So, if you can, we've got, our last board meeting of this year is June 25th. So if any way you get to us late next week, early the following week, so that would give them time to compare, that'd be great.
Yeah, I could probably get it to you guys, you said early on the week of the 22nd?
Yeah, later on the 18th and 19th or the 20th, yeah, early on that week.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll get something then, yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, I'm having Knox County actually is making me drive up there for the BOE. They're not doing anything virtual, so I'm trying to navigate this appeal season with having to show up in person. That's some, unfortunately. So I appreciate you guys doing this stuff virtually. But yeah, I'll send something out. I'll connect with Matt and we'll get something to, and is that submitted to y'all or the county?
County.
Just help me understand the next steps, I guess. Would we reconvene with the board and the county again and go through another conversation, or would it just be a submittal of documentation and a decision by the board?
I think the process would be you submit the information to the county, and they will compare the valuations with your cost, and they will notify you whether they agree or disagree, and if they disagree, it'll come back to the board.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, just want to understand what the flow would be. Yeah, again, it's a unique process, I think, for us right now relative to our experience in the past. So we sure appreciate the flexibility in trying to navigate this.
Okay?
Matt, this is Van. When you get that information, if you just forward that to me, and then we'll review it, and I'll reach out to you and we'll have a conversation.
That sounds good.
So could I have an amendment on the motion, please?
I'll amend the motion that we receive it no later than the 22nd, if that's a Monday. Correct?
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then who second? Sorry.
Ray second, and then we all agree.
Yep, okay, excellent. All righty, thank you, guys.
All right,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Matt. Thanks, Spencer.
Y'all have a
Thanks,
pleasant
Dave.
afternoon.
Thank y'all.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. Stay safe.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, moving on to tab number 2, we have 2 staff recommendations for your consideration. The parcel number is 06090051 and 061470200, and I think you have documentation under that tab telling you what was reduced. And we have the, do we have the appraiser? Your representative? Yeah, Alan. And we have the appraiser here who negotiated this staff recommendation.
You maybe get a little clarification on that second one with it being so large.
Yes. Yeah, that second one, that one is off of Providence Road near the Mecklenburg County line. It's a small subdivision, 7 houses. It's a brand-new house that was finished last year. It's large, 13,000 square feet. So 2 houses down from there, we had an appraisal on that property, and the taxpayer for the appellant for this one referenced that property. So what we did is I brought the price per square foot in line with that house because it was around the same size of that house. And then I also adjusted the grade to match the rest of the neighborhood as well. So that's why it's so large. Those houses in there don't resell for nearly as much as it is the cost to build.
Right. I just saw the owner's opinion there. Was it, really all it was, it just went from 2.8 to 1.7?
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, and I discussed that with him. We talked about that at the
Right.
appraisal on the other property.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't have any other questions on it.
Let's go ahead and vote on each one of the tabs, if you don't mind, because we have different appraisers representing different staff
I make a
recs.
motion, we accept the staff recommendations on tab 2 as presented.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Likewise, no. Okay, Robin passed.
All righty, let me get caught up real quick. All right, tab, I'm hearing number 3 is, let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parcels. I think that's it. Yeah. The parcel numbers are 06078284, 06141020, 06165 06192 06192 We don't have the, Brett. We have Brad Helms representing the appraiser. If you have any questions.
Any questions?
I don't have any. Ray, Mike?
The only question I have, some of the owner's opinion 0. I don't know how something can be 0, but
That's typical on the appeals.
that's all.
Okay. Your motion we approve?
So moved. Recommend we accept the values as presented, or the staff recommendations as presented on tab 3.
Okay. Second?
Second.
Ray, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Like sign no? Okay, passed.
Okay, moving on to tab number 5. 4? 4? I don't have a, oh, wait. 4. Tab number 4. I'm not reading these out.
No.
There's a whole bunch. So we have the appraiser here to represent the county if you have any questions.
Looks like that one for Betty Belt, that was just a system error or something?
Yeah, what happened was her land was doubled, so it added acreage, it doubled her acreage
Right.
in the
okay,
conversion.
Okay.
So we just corrected it back down.
Did that just happen like for 1 year, or did it been like
It
that?
did,
Yeah,
when we converted. We had a couple conversion issues.
right.
We all did.
Dutch, you'll see on several of these that, and on the previous pages that we've already approved, they were, during the software conversion, there were some glitches, and we've been trying to clean them all up. I think we've got a good handle on it now. The few that did slip through the cracks, that we caught them on these appeals.
Right.
All right. Here's a recommendation we approve.
I'll recommend we approve
No.
the staff recommendation.
Thank you, Ray. You have a second?
I'll second.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Like sign no? Okay, it passed. Thank you, Robin.
All righty, Mr. Chairman, moving on to tab number 5. Again, I'm not going to read them all off, but we do have the appraiser here representing the county, if you have any questions.
Floyd, leaves a bunch of lots, this Raymond Griffin LLC.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
These are lots that are located on 200 North, just past New Salem Road. On the, there's an area, and what it was, these lots were divided out, and then come to find out that they're really too small to build on because of setback and the zoning. Well, these were the ones we're doing zoning. It's R40 out there, and these are like half-acre lots, so they really couldn't build on them. So they never had them added back into the big tract that they cut them out of. So they're just basically just small lots that at this time cannot be built on because of the zoning. So that's why we reduced the value on them.
You familiar with the stump dump out there on 200 North, Mr. Griffin? He's got all the single wides rental property. If you turn up there on Camden Road, he lives up there on Camden Road, up there on the right. Well, right there by his house, he had done the same thing. I think his intention was to have mobile homes on those, but never did. And the zoning is too small to allow anything on them anyway. So he had platted it out, but it's basically
Right,
unusable.
yeah.
So this property that Floyd's on Old Camden Road?
Yeah.
Yes.
Most of them are.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
I don't have any other questions. I make a motion, we approve the recommended values by staff under tab 5.
Thank you, Dutch. Here, second? Second. Mike, second. Thank you, Mike. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Like sign no. Thank you, Robin. It passed.
Alrighty, tab number 6, we have one parcel. The parcel number is 071477172, and we do have the appraiser representing the negotiation if you had any questions.
I make a motion, we pass as presented by staff for tab number 6.
Thank you, Dutch. Here's second. Second. Mike, seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Like sign no. Thank you. Passed. Robin?
Alrighty, tab number 7 is staff recommendations. Go back to the front, sorry. Our staff recommendations, and I'm not gonna read these all out. And we have the appraiser here representing the county.
How much acreage is that one on that large, the $1.3 million adjustment there, Joe? You might not have it in front of you. I was just curious more than
Yeah.
anything.
I think I have that. Bear with me just a minute here. It's like 3.53. They submitted, let's see, I'll make sure that's the one. Yeah, they submitted a formal copy of, from an engineer that had cost to cure, and it was over $1 million for the cost to cure on it because of the streams and low-lying areas. This was part, you know, where they're going to build the hub. It's where Chestnut Parkway and 74 meet. Back behind it's where Carolina Courts is.
Oh,
They just
okay.
built a swim center. Well, this is a piece that Moser looked at purchasing for the hub, but when he saw that everything that had to be done with, he passed on that part. So he's carved out around this to do his development. But it was a professional estimate that they gave me, so I adjusted it accordingly.
And then I reckon that's a Publix grocery store, that other large one for $1.7 million.
Yeah, the other one was, when it got carved up, they've replatted it, and it got carved up, and at the time, I didn't have a plan of where the, one of them, where one was going, where the building was going, or how, I didn't know that they were gonna carve it back up. And when they did, most of the value, we haven't really lost value, so to speak, on it, because the value went to the front pieces
Right.
that are on the out parcels now.
The one up at Sun Valley.
No, this one is over off Newtown and 16.
Oh, okay.
Brand new.
Brand new, okay.
Brand
I
new.
know. Yeah.
In fact, I need to go out and measure it now.
Yeah.
So, anyway, they only have, this piece went from having a whole lot of road frontage to just little access points, and the out parcels is where we transferred the value. They bought this whole thing for like, we had on like $6 million. They paid about the same roughly. And then once they carved it up, now all the total pieces, parts of this pie is $8 million.
Right.
So the value, I didn't know how they were gonna work it. So now it's, instead of an excellent site, it's, an average site because of the access points. So that's the reduction for that part. But the value went somewhere else.
Right.
Basically.
Right.
Jim, let me go back to that first point on that property there. You mentioned up there at Chestnut and 74.
Yeah.
So there's flood on that property in there, flood zone?
I did not see flood zone, but but according to, it's not on our maps, but according to the engineer, and he's got I think he had a map here of it. It showed that there were a lot of low-lying and like streams that were either above ground or very close to being above ground. There were multiple streams that ran through it, and the cost to mitigate was over $1 million.
So is it fair to charge them, I'm just asking, 1.3 million for property they can't use right now without improving it, and then go back at some point if they improve it and catch back up?
Yes, yes. If they correct it and they do, they go out and they clear the site and they rectify everything, get everything filled in if they can. I don't know exactly, he didn't detail exactly what would be involved with it, but if they go out and they make it suitable for building, yes, we put it back up at a normal rate.
I guess what I'm saying is it still 1.3 million
Yeah,
now?
because not, the entire site isn't affected. There's portions of it are
Okay.
affected. So there's still some usable area, so it has some value to it.
All right. All right, looking for a recommendation.
I recommend we approve the staff ranks.
Okay, thank you, Ray. Second?
I'll second.
Just a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Like sign?
Alrighty, moving on to tab number 8, we have a couple of acreage corrections and a couple of PUV applications, and we have Steve Crump representing the assessment department, if you have any questions.
Hey, Steve?
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, how are you?
Your report looks different.
Do what?
Your report looks different than everybody else's.
Was that good or bad?
You know us Dutch, we have to be a little different.
Oh, that's right, I know.
Yeah.
Any questions about the staff's recommendation?
I don't think I do. Just,
No.
Hearing none, I hear recommendation we approve.
I'll recommend that you approve.
I'll second
Thank you, Ray. Dutch second. All in favor, say aye.
it. Aye.
Like sign no. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, and I have one other thing that I need y'all to review. And I'm walking away, so I'll speak loudly. Remember when we reduced Alan Balcone's late list penalties by 65%?
Vaguely, yep.
Vaguely?
Yeah.
It's only a couple minutes ago. Okay, well, I had to go back into the system and kind of finagle it, so I didn't quite get it to 65%. But if you look at the documentation, then we get back over to the mic so I can go over it with you. A 65% reduction of the late list penalties for parcel number 406796 would have resulted in a late list penalty amount to be billed of $12,208.83. I was able to work the system so that the late list penalty amount would be $12,130.38, which is a little lower than what 65% would have been.
That's pretty dead-gum close.
I try, guys, I try. And then on 406,797, a 65% reduction would have been $1,844.38, and I was able to get it to $1,841.38. Because it's slightly different from what you voted on, I have to bring it back to your attention and have you guys approve what I was able to get the system to do.
I'll make a motion, we accept these revised numbers for the personal property late list penalties.
Thank you, Dutch. So here a second.
Second.
Mike, seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Like sign no? Okay, it passed.
Perfect. Thank you very much, gentlemen. That's all I have on today's agenda. I'll turn it over to the tax administrator.
It's a possibility we will need to meet Tuesday. Right now, we have one potential hearing. Is there anything else, Robin, besides that one?
No, I mean, that and Chick-fil-A, since we tabled Chick-fil-A.
Okay. We'll plan for Chick-fil-A on the 25th, or whatever that Thursday is. Tuesday's a possible late request to accept an application for an exemption application that's late filing, and we're not reviewing it until we have your approval to accept it. That they're gonna let me know by tomorrow if they're gonna follow through with that or if they're gonna be here.
Okay.
So would you do that one on the 25th as well, or?
We will go ahead and do that one. You know, we could push it to the 25th. That way we're only coming back one time.
We could, yeah.
Let me see if the taxpayer contacts me and I'll let you know.
Okay.
That on Chick-fil-A though, if you get the total electrical cost in one of their prototype projects, we all should be able to come to some kind of suitable
That's why we
conclusion.
requested the information.
Yeah.
Or wanted you to request the information because we had not been able to get traction with them on getting anything.
Right.
So we wanted to see what we could get to compare. And I understand they may not have the electrical broken out as personal, real, whatever on
But
there.
if they had, even if you got a total number, just total electrical
Right,
costs.
we should be able to come
Yeah,
to some reasonable
Yeah.
conclusion there.
yeah. I agree.
Well, we do have the total electrical cost. I lost Jim. We do have the total electrical cost. What we don't have
The total
is
construction cost.
the total construction cost.
Because what they're
Okay,
saying
so
is their
if-
construction cost is all inclusive of all electrical. And I want to see the contracting paperwork that states that, if it's reasonably close to what our real estate value is, then they may have an argument on their side. If it's not, then we've got an argument. I mean, that's for the board to make a determination
Right.
at that point.
Because I think they said their construction cost was $185 to $205 a square foot, and we were like at $213. That's what I wrote down. I didn't.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, somewhere around that.
For our sake, just as soon as they submit something, let them know immediately if that's what you're looking for, whether or not, so we.
Yes, Matt
Yeah.
and I have been in constant communication
Okay.
through this process, so we'll continue to talk
Okay.
until we have a resolution.
All right, motion we adjourn.
All
So
right,
moved.
thank you very much.